Good morning, everyone. It's me, Teri Hunter. It is February 6th, 2022, and I'm here with this week's Traversing the Transits with Teri Hunter. So I'm just going to give it a minute. There we go. I see someone in the... Hi, Juan. Good morning. Good morning, posted up. Wow. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about... Good morning, Stephen. This month is February 2022. So it's the second month in the year of 2022. And we had February 2nd. We're going to have February 20th and February 22nd. Someone brought this up to me in conversation yesterday, and the first thing that hit me through spirit is this is about coming into partnership and cooperation and compassion for the various aspects of self and what you want in the way of love. And I mean that in love in your intimate body, love in your family body, love of your community, love and fulfillment within your professional life. Because we have this whole, I've been talking about the idea of Venus, Mars, and Pluto coming together towards the end of February and the beginning of March. Didn't write down the exact dates, but we're going to see this week's transits start teeing up that conversation. So there's a couple things I wanted to talk about in the way of partnership and love and what we as humans on our side of the fence, regardless of our partner, regardless of our employer, regardless of the other side's perception, perspective, and even behaviors. Because I think what Pluto is asking is, what are you really, really wanting? Dig deeper and deeper and deeper. Pluto rules the planet or the sign of other people's money, of power and control. And I think this is where we as humans get to start to really be authentic with how we are aligning in partnerships. So with ourselves, by digging down to our deeper truth, and then how we are taking our actions and our behaviors and superimposing them on another or on another situation. So today, let's talk about the first transit that's bringing this up. Mars is at 9 degrees Capricorn, and the 9th degree rules the 9th house of beliefs. I get all this from Nikolai's book, and I didn't study it for that long because I didn't have it for that long, but it all makes sense because literally the numbers go around the zodiac. So the 9th degree, now Chiron is in Aries at the 9th degree, and they're making a square to each other because this is a tense conversation. Now let's take the anger out of Mars. Let's take the, abrupt energy out of Mars and go into the pioneer, into the courage, into the idea that Mars represents the truth and co-rules with Pluto, the sign of the deepest, deepest, deepest emotional body. I really think that's what Scorpio is. So in this conversation, how authentic are you as you're wanting your own happiness, willing to be a participant in your own creation through your perceptions and how those perceptions affect your behaviors. This is why I'm such a kukla about the moon. I do not believe, and I've never met a human that does not act on their emotional body. So I think the moon supersedes everything, and it zips around the zodiac every month, hitting all our transits. I mean, all our aspects in our natal chart. So today we have Mars having this conversation with Chiron. Where is your wound? And don't try to release that wound, but how is that wound actually transforming into your gift? One of the things about Chiron in Aries is actually feeling this pull between, wanting to be seen for the truth and also wanting to, in some ways, retreat, I think sometimes, wanting to just go out onto the prairie, pioneering by myself because I can't handle it anymore. So what are your beliefs, and where do you focus on the belief that you don't win, or that it's a struggle, or that it's hard? Because that 9th degree square is offering you an opportunity to transform that wound into a gift. Because sometimes if things are effortless, we don't trust them. Oh my God, I never got over a hurdle. I never had to put out a fire. I never had to pivot. Now, how much do I trust the success? Because what if something comes and suddenly it disappears? And you'll see this with people that have a big fish in their clientele base or have a huge account that brings in the lion's share of their abundance. And so that's a precarious place to be. So I want you to really give yourself an opportunity to think about this, because as we move into the month and we hit this idea of the twos in cooperation with our higher self, and how our ego sometimes in its unknowing serves us, in its stoking our fears, it's actually feeding us our strengths as we overcome those fears. Because Uranus is going to be in an exact, dang it, I didn't write down the degree, but I think it's 11 degrees, if I remember correctly. Uranus is going to be in an exact trine to Mars. So Mars is up there in Capricorn, rewriting our structure. Uranus is in Taurus. And I really think this is about this epiphany that I've had. This epiphany that Mars squaring Chiron has given me and will continue to give me over and over again, because when Pluto and Venus and Mars all meet each other, it's going to be very interesting. So now we go from this exact trine that's a harmonious aspect for those of you that may not be familiar in playback. So this is working for us. How can I liberate myself through my actions, being willing to go into a place I've never been before? And this is where I think Mercury comes into play, because this is, I think, a lot of how I think. Mercury will be direct conjunct Pluto on the 11th. Now, the 11th, 11th degree. Thank you very much, Stephen. There we go. 11 is the master number of thought. So we go from the square at the 9th degree between Mars and Chiron, asking us what we really, really, really believe. Deep, deep, deep truth. Maybe I don't believe I deserve love, or maybe I believe making money is hard, or maybe I believe that if I get happy, something really bad will happen. There's a lot of boogeyman in this old brain from the human existence for eons and eons and eons. So then we go to this trine at the 11th degree, once again, repeating, what is my major thought? You don't need to actually have the solution. You don't even need to know how you're going to get there. You just have to be willing to spend a little time looking at the majority of your thought process. Do I spend 50% of the time thinking of my struggles and 50% of the time thinking I'm going to be okay? Or is that a bigger percentage? Because the bigger the percentage, the more you're kicking in the laws of attraction, the more you're bringing in your own experience and participating in this idea of your co-creation through the unknowing that then moves into the awareness that Uranus brings up through some explosion. So on the 11th of February, 2/11/2022, look at these numbers. Mercury is direct with Pluto. So you're going to really think deeply about what is this week offered me? Because I'm going to go into a full moon next week. And I get this opportunity, and a full moon in Leo that rules the heart. So I get to have this opportunity to say, what if my struggles, Chiron, what if my wound is actually the thing that gives me the confidence to know that I am able to receive? I don't need to worry about something coming down and dropping behind me, or that I'm not able to continue this, that it isn't about hard work. It's about me actually being able to receive my bounty and all that makes me happy. And how am I, as the individual human, cooperating with the real end result? Because if you're daring the universe to prove you wrong, like you're saying, I'll never be in love, I'll never have the relationship I want, and you're doing that, trying to get the universe to say, oh no, that's not true, honey, the universe isn't going to do that. The universe is very, very neutral, because it knows that we learn through experience, and it knows that experience gives us the roots to feel our power. And that's why we have the South Node transiting Scorpio right now, and will be for the next year and a half in concert with all these other aspects to help sort of not, so many people go, oh, release during the full moon. I think that's BS. I can't release something. I need to make it work for me. I need to find and extract the tool, the dynamic that's going to make me stronger. So as I've worked for myself, when I first started working for myself, I was always afraid of money. Where will money come from? Will people find value in my work? And as I was aware of my focus, and then I started to say to Spirit, bring the people who will best be served by my gifts and my talents, then I didn't need to worry about if I was great for everybody. I just got to be aware of my gift with this relationship with Spirit. So this is where I'm going with this month. In some ways, your oversoul is the part of you, because you don't know how big you are. You don't know that this human body is a fraction of who and what you are and what you're able to create. So as you open up to the idea that there's this part of you that's holding space for those dreams, for those aspirations that you're not aware of, for those relationships that you want, but that sort of feel pie in the sky to you. Your mouth says you want them, but your underbelly is not quite so sure it can happen. So now we get to align. So I feel like that's what's going on this week, because on the 12th, Venus will be conjunct Mars at 14 degrees. And this is really, to me, the Venus degree of Taurus. So this is about my self-worth, and am I willing to take action on my participation in my co-creation by being aware of the truth of my self-worth and not judging myself because I'm not, 100%, but rather having compassion for that. Because there's a big journey going on in our co-creation, and nothing is going to happen like this. Everything right now is going to happen in a way that aligns with your intention, your focus, and your belief. And in that respect, we are changing the world and preparing for the Aquarian age. So I really want to offer, because we're also coming into Valentine's Day, right? We're coming into the month where all things, hearts and flowers exasperates a condition. If you're in a relationship and you feel like the partnership is not fresh and woo-woo, I don't know how to say it, it can be hard. You can go, oh, here we go again. He's going to forget Valentine's Day, blah, blah. Or if you're single, you'll be like, oh, here comes another Valentine's Day all by myself. These stories are focus. Is your focus serving you? Because if you can't come into the emotional body of feeling your vision board, of what you've put in your vision board, because it feels like, wow, that's a lot. I don't know if I can get that. You can look at the percentage of time you're spending in the old story and how much you're willing to say to Spirit, thank you for helping me get into the new story. And then we rewrite this world. I think this is very, very important. I think these transits are teeing us up because, again, when Venus, Mars, and Pluto come together at the end of the month, I'm expecting something big to happen. I don't know what it could be involved in banking. It could be, it's in Capricorn. Something could happen with banking. I don't even know where to go with it because it feels so, I don't even know how to say it. It feels like my awareness is going to be super important in this transit, because again, this, it's not happening on one day. This is when it will be, when these three planets come together exact at 27 degrees, it's triggering the United States, and it's triggering an opposition to Mercury, between Mercury and Pluto for the United States in the 2nd and the 8th houses of other people's money. I mean, it's a Capricorn Cancer access, but it's still the access of other people's money and how I make money through my skills. So I say all this because our awareness moving forward, our willingness to be very Platonian and say, what am I pretending not to know? How am I getting in my own way? Is my focus so much on my lack that I'm not allowing in my abundance? Then in some ways, this very much will separate us from the swirl and the whirlpool of what happens in the big world outside of us. throughout history, and it's not really commented on, or I mean, you got to dig for it a little bit, but throughout history, there are people that have thrived in cultures and in genders and in the color of our skin, while others were confined, restricted, and enslaved. And while these atrocities are the focus, there are the vibration of the people who are managed to sit in those oppressive times and thrive. This is where our focus should now be kind of moved over to, because how did they do that with so much sitting over their heads? It was their vibration. It was their focus. It was their awareness. And sometimes they weren't even knowing they were doing it because it was about getting the task at hand done. Okay. So that's what I have to say about all that stuff. Now let's go on to our readings. Get on to that for the week. Take a sip of my tea. Thanks, everybody. Don't be afraid to hit that like button and that subscribe button and that notification button. All right, here we go, Pisces, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Can't tell you how happy I am to see all you guys here on my channel. It's been a big move while Venus was in Capricorn, evaluating how I was feeling valued and how I was making my money and where I was putting my focus. And was I really moving my story forward, or was I hiding behind something? Kind of thought I might be hiding behind something. It's time to step out on the ledge again. And here I am. Dun, 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 dun. I feel like the fool in the tarot. Okay, Pisces. Our first angel is the angel of marriage, Daniel. The second is Oceana. The third is Isabella. And the final is Opal. Daniel's an interesting angel because, we get so excited about the idea of marriage, the whole idea of you complete me. Oh my God, la, la, la. Marriage is a contract between two people's issues. Their issues. Okay. So this is why the getting to know you process is so important, because we want our issues to be aligned. We really don't sit in that vibration of, yay, I'm the happiest person ever, la, 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 all the time. So what's it like when you shut the door and that person is kind of in a sour mood? Okay. Daniel is saying, Pisces, that your burden in marriage or relationship are your history and your journey within relationship has been a bit of a burden. Let's see about transforming that. Oceana is being joined by the bee. Isabella is being joined by the fear card. And Opal is being joined by the raven. Okay, here we go. So this is what I want to say. As a Pisces, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums, I think, and if you're a stellium in Pisces, this is super important because you're a mutable sign. So you're very cooperative, and you're ruled by Neptune, which rules water. And no matter what kind of liquid you put in the cup, it takes the shape of the cup. So I want to offer this. We talked earlier about focus in relationship. So I feel as if Pisces is being called upon to really look at how much time you're spending focused on your history in the relationship. And I'm not negating the history in any way, but if you're aware of the amount of time you're spending on the story, then you can start to shift the story. Because in order for you to actually be able to feel, Oceana says to take action on your heart. And there's the B card. And I think that this is the kind of thing that if you're in a relationship, because, that Mars, Venus, Pluto conjunction could really break up a relationship. I'm not going to say it can't. If things are teetering on the edge of something, that period of time can really bring things to the surface that's going to kind of kapow. But I want to offer it this way, because being in touch with your truth is being in touch with where you're giving your power away and not standing in the truth of your being energy. Because oftentimes when we're in a loving situation, we want to give to the other person, and we don't realize that there's this hope underneath going, wow, if I give to them over, maybe they'll see that and they'll really appreciate it and they'll give that back to me. Sometimes that doesn't happen like that. And it's not for the person doesn't care that you're being giving. It's just this sort of thing that we really don't complete each other. We have an opportunity to complement each other. And this is the new structure that's being rebuilt in relationship, and in relationship to everything, relationship to how I make money, to how I use my skills, to my personal opinion of myself and how I'm valued by others. Because Isabella is saying, yes, the timing is right, Pisces, for you to face everything and rise. And when I say that, that's about telling the old story too much. That's about daring the universe maybe to prove you wrong about your old story. Because the spirit is saying that Opal is saying that your children are safe in heaven and earth, but this isn't your children. This is the childlike innocence that you have towards the world and what you want to experience in the way of feeling loved in all facets of our experience. And the raven is saying, if you're willing to go into those little Plutonian places, then magic can happen. Because it's interesting to me. I'm sure many of you have experienced that, where you long for somebody and you think about them all the time. Maybe you've broken up and you wake up thinking about them. You wish they'd call you. You scroll and you look, don't let them know you're looking, and you have all this focus, and all that focus is on lack. Oh, we're not together. Oh, are they with somebody else? Blah, 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 blah. Then one day you wake up and you don't do that. Then another day you don't do it. And then that person reaches out to you and you're like, what the hell? Dude, I was just spent 3 months mourning you, wanting you to be like in my life. And I finally get over you and you show up. That's energy. That's resistance and staring at the worry part of it, and then forgetting about it, and it comes back around. So I want to offer that as an example to shifting your history and the burden, Pisces, that you feel, because now is a time to recalibrate that. You got Jupiter in your house right now. You've got Neptune there. You could take that and the lower aspects and start, I'm poor pitiful me kind of, drinking, or you could do the other, like everybody else didn't work. So it's fine that it is what it is. Because now I'm inviting in all my happiness and my part of it, because I think of it as a triad, right? It's you and the situation or the person. So if it's the job or if it's the relationship that you want, plus it's the universe, right? The universe bringing the pieces together. So when you have to sit in a place of the unknown, when nothing feels like it's moving, then maybe your job is just to see how much time you're focused on being like this, it's not moving, or being like, it's okay. All right, here we go. On to our Aquarius. Now, this is the other thing I thought was kind of funny. All right. Aquarius is not exactly the most emotional moon. No offense to any of you Aquarius moons out there. And I think it's so funny that Valentine's Day is in February. Like, I wonder where the calendar, like who made these things up? But because I want to say this for Aquarius, there's also the Valentine's Day massacre, which is kind of funny. But Aquarius, it's really going to be about you a lot. We have Uranus is ruling, rules you, co-rules you, making it a good aspect to Mars this week. So there's really a lot of opportunity for you to stand in leadership for your wants and desires. 11th house rules your hopes and your dreams. It rules money. I feel like this tribe, if I can help infuse any energy so that we represent thriving during challenging times, so that others can be invited to pay attention to their focus. Because many people, Pluto rules billionaires, not millionaires, and maybe even gazillionaires. I don't know if I met one of those yet. Good, Stephen. That's good. I love a good pity party, but of course it's all about the duration, because I think a pity party and celebration isn't that bad. It's when you're having the pity party and you're actually buying into the idea that you're holding a bag of runny, what in your hand. All right, Aquarius. Our first angel is Isabella. The second is Astera. The third is Isaiah. And the final is Layla. Uranus has had a major leading role in the last few years. And I really believe that, expect the unexpected. Yeah, you can't really expect the unexpected because you don't know what that is. But what I do think is when we spend so much time hating our lives or driving to our thankless jobs, wishing things would change, we don't realize that we're actually calling in Uranus. We're like, hey, Uranus, come on in, blow up my life so I can put it back on track. Because sometimes people don't feel like they can actually change things until everything feels like it's gone. And if you have played with the tarot, I absolutely think the tower is Uranus, man. Those people flying out with the lightning bolts. All right, Aquarius. Isabella is saying, yes, the timing is right for love, just like we started this whole broadcast about love and partnership and the 222s of this month. Astera is saying to risk reaching for the stars with your dreams and desires. And I want to offer it this way. This isn't about necessarily looking at what the transits are offering you in the way of love, but rather saying, how much do I believe in love and how much am I going to walk through those transits calling love forth? Because it is not the transits that will dictate whether or not you can be successful. It's what you believe about your ability to walk through the transit. Isaiah is saying it's time to give birth to new ideas and to think about how you talk to yourself. That's your focus. And Layla is being joined by the Joy card. Okay, so this is very cool because the Joy card is my intention. Layla's talking to spirit, talking to the stars, talking to the angels. It's kind of funny because you guys know I watch all this History Channel and Ancient Aliens and all this, Nova. And even the scientists refer to these constellations through their astrological dynamics almost as if they are personalities. So I want to offer it this way because Aquarius, yes, the timing is right, not only for you to feel love, but this doesn't have to feel love of an individual. This could be the idea that Uranus rules uniqueness. It's very different and we're very willing to be different. And yet there's a sense of loneliness and alienation through that uniqueness. So now maybe this is people loving you for your uniqueness. I think we're going into that whole phase of the more you do you, boo, the more we're going to love you. The more people try to homogenize into something else, the more I think, people might start shunning them a bit, because I think this is Aquarius's time to rise. Now, you have this trine aspect going on between Mars and Capricorn. You can rewrite the structure of your life by willing to risk starting to put that focus on what it is you want. I think you guys have heard me tell the story that I used to work for a chiropractic office before I started working for myself. And I worked for 3 years there. And the last 2, I had just gotten lucky as a puppy. And I used to drive home every day at lunch to walk him. And I was so annoyed. And I didn't realize it, but every day at 1:00, I was chanting, pretty soon I'm not going to have to work here anymore. I'm going to be able to take my dog for a walk whenever I want. I'm going to make all my own money. And it was all from me being full of piss and vinegar. Aquarius, it's time to be a little bit, start talking about what you want, whether it's real in your mind or how you'll get there or not. Just start talking about it, because I think that Spirit's going to start to have you really break through and set examples for other and the only thing when people say, well, how did you do that? You'll say, I just started talking about what I wanted versus what I was living. There you go. To go where no man has gone before, Aquarius. Okay, so here we go. On to our Capricorns. Here's another sign that's been having Mugu mega transformation. Okay, I like to start with the angels. All right, Capricorn. Our first angel is Athena. The second is Yvonne. The third is Celeste. And the final is Xana. So, Capricorn's an interesting sign because it represents leadership, government, authority. And in some ways, it also represents, the ultimate, no offense, but following the rules of yesteryear, following the rules of yesteryear, following the rules of yesteryear without innovation. Okay. So I feel like on a personal level, here we are talking about the month of February, being in partnership with ourselves about our deepest wants and desires. We have Mars in Capricorn making an aspect to Chiron. The wound is not about, I always think Chiron is not a wound that's like, yes, it happened to us, but it's something we want to focus in on this lifetime. We want to transform that wound into the gift. And oftentimes it becomes the gift we have of service, but maybe not. But I think it's of service, even if we don't project it in a professional way out, because we are willing to walk through our participation in the wound. So, and that's the focus. So I really want to offer this idea for Capricorn to take that Mars energy and to use it to be really authentic about maybe how you have, in all good intention, followed the rules, but now maybe it's time to lovingly assert yourself, as Athena would say, into a new dynamic. There's the risk card. Really asking yourself if the rules you're following are aligned to what you really want to experience. I love Capricorn. Every guy I have ever dated of significance in my life was a Capricorn. I love the leadership. I love the assuredness. I love the material abundance. I could say that, right? But I also think that there's this little bit of the goat that gets lost, and the lost is being vulnerable to knowing that if I break the rules, if I don't do what's expected of me, I will be okay. I think of Capricorn as being very highly associated to the military. We know Mars is exalted in Capricorn, so it's in its exalted position, and it's having this tango with Venus at the end of the week, asking ourselves, forget the money aspect, look at your value and how you're valuing yourself, because Celeste is really offering you a shift in the way you're thinking, and to take some of those leadership skills, and rather than applying them dutifully to someone else's agenda, maybe it's time for Capricorn to start to entertain the idea that that same energy can be moved into your agenda. And again, this feels very risky to me, but at the same time, the risk is not, because the risk is emotional. It's not really physical right now, because once Capricorn decides to put something into action, they're going to work their butt off. We know that. But now is really a time, because sometimes when we have an epiphany, it can trigger a regret. Why didn't I know this years ago? Why didn't I move this direction a while ago? Blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter, because you weren't ready. You didn't have the emotional body, the spiritual body, whatever. The journey reveals itself and its wisdom. Because Capricorn, it is really time to lovingly assert yourself and to risk a new story of what you want, and know that you're being protected, because you are aware of your focus now. Because if your focus is aligned to, I want to say, the journey, and to realize that sometimes fear is really your friend, because while it doesn't feel good in the beginning, once you've walked through it, you've either learned something, you've got a new tool, you've got a new resource, and maybe even a sense of calm, because you've conquered it, you've lived through it. I watched this new show on Magnolia Network called The Lost Kitchen. And I'm loving this woman's dialogue, because she's really, she goes through this is happening during COVID, so it must have been filmed in like 2020. And she's talking about how the struggles in her life have really just been these platforms for ascension to a new level of fulfillment. And I love that, because that's how I want people to start to see these challenges, so that we don't resist them and go into these ideas that we're victims to them, but rather have an opportunity to be victors over them. And that's what Pluto is pulling out of everybody right now. Remember, Pluto is the planet with the huge heart on it, okay? And I think it's the 600 miles. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But underneath that heart is this molten churning, and it appears to be cold and ice. And I think that it's ice not because it is cold-hearted, but because sometimes Pluto, you have to be cold-hearted to someone else's agenda in order to be able to facilitate your own. So here we go. All right, on to our Sagittarius, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. And again, I'm really an advocate. I've started hashtagging these things, revolutionary astrology. I'm going to start really hammering home the idea that the moon is super important to how you're feeling and your ability to manifest. So when the moon is void of course, pay attention, because it may not work for you in your chart. If the moon is in, a challenging dynamic to one of your, someone mentioned to me that when the moon hits a certain spot in their chart, it triggers something within them. With that awareness, then there's an ability to relax during that time rather than to try to push forward. Watching the patterns and then choosing if they're working for you or not. All right, Sagittarius, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. La 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 la. Thank you, Stephen. Welcome, everybody, by the way. I didn't say hello to you, sending lots of love and vibes to you. I'm so glad to see you here. We're going to start doing more fun things and going to start branching out and have some new exciting things, working on them now. And we will be letting you know about them more as the weeks roll on. So, Sagittarius, our first angel for this week is Aurora. The second is Rochelle. The third is Maya. And the final is Francesca. Joining Aurora is the Fire Fairy. Joining Rochelle is the Trust card. Joining Maya is the Spider. And joining Francesca is the King. Okay, so this is what I want to say. I feel as if for Sagittarius, the Fire Fairy in some ways can represent you. And when I look at Aurora, the first thing I thought was, if you look at the card really closely, she is jumping off the balcony, but her head is up, right? Her head is up. She's not really looking at what could potentially be going that direction, right? So I feel like this is super important for my Sagittariuses right now, rising moon, sun, and stelliums, to really keep your head up and not to look for necessarily anything in the earthly plane to validate your ideas. Again, Sagittarius rules big, broad concepts, philosophical concepts, higher learning. It rules foreign travel. And in that way, it's very much about newness. It's very much about experiencing something that hasn't been experienced before. And there's this willingness to be an explorer, to be curious, because I feel like right now, there's this big wave of people that, because of what's going to happen throughout the United States and the Pluto return in these next few years of reconstruction, might be a little more demolition before the reconstruction. But in any case, the opportunity to be the master of your own domain, the ability to make money through your own intentions, beliefs, opinions, actions, the idea of influencers, this is going to morph and meld, but it's still going to be the primary way. People are going to be very much celebrated for what they bring to the table, and there'll be multiple ways to make money. So Sagittarius, it's really an opportunity to really dig deep into your heart and to look at your thought process. The 47 reduces down to an 11. How much time am I spending focused on what it is that I want to experience versus whether I think I can or not? Rochelle has nothing to do with your brain. She has to do with the deepest parts of your heart. And the heart is really why I focus on the moon, because we create on our emotional body. Because now is a time to learn how and what you want to experience within the way of broadening your network. I really want to say this. I feel like when I look at these transits, and I look at the idea that the end of the week, Mars and Venus are going to be coming together at 14 degrees. That's the Venus degree. And I feel like this is an opportunity for Sagittarius to start to think, I want to use my own skills, my own beliefs, my own dynamic, because I think everything is coming down to relationships. So people aren't going to go, just to the store to buy something. They're going to have a relationship now with Pavilions or Instacart or whatever. And where the customer service comes back in and where they feel heard and seen, they're going to start gravitating towards that. And the platforms, we know when Uranus goes into Gemini that technology is going to, explode again. So things are being developed right now that are going to afford the individual to make money on their own through platforms like this and others, because they're introducing concepts and ideas that are unique to themselves. So this is what you're starting to learn about. And I think the learning still has something to do with trusting your heart and seeing how much you can do that and focus in on that. Because in the end of this, we see Francesca saying, what are you visualizing right now? Negativity will block your progress. And then we have the king. And the king doesn't feel like male energy. It feels like it's a just time for you to sort of take this and anchor this concept so that you can represent, that abundance that Jupiter offers and the wealth and the feeling purposeful within your own world and still not enslaved to it. I think when I think about being of service to humanity, there's a certain tethering. When you become influential at a certain point, your life is not your own anymore. So I think this is in some ways recalibrating dynamic so that you can be of service and still be able to living your own individual happiness and life. So there we go. Oh, I'm so jealous, the 145 Club. Oh my gosh. I've been wanting to get a telescope and stare out at the stars. It's been kind of foggy here, but I love watching about all that stuff. I absolutely think that that's in the very, very near future. And if you pay attention, there's already been media that's disclosing that, all these sort of new things out there in the universe. I can't wait. I'm so excited about that. I love the garden. Okay, let's go on to our Scorpio, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. So your co-ruler Mars is having a lot of conversations, obviously. And then Pluto is, to me, the dominant, the little planet that packs a punch, because it really feels like it's the anchor of everything. Like if I was to pull up the chart, it feels like Pluto's sitting right up here is like, I'm tethering everybody along the zodiac to transform. Okay. Our first angel is Rochelle. The second is Daniel. Ooh. Then we have the Patience card, and we have Astera. The thing about Pluto and about being Scorpio is that this is the most psychological, rich planet dynamic in the zodiac. Pluto being that planet, and I feel as if as all these crazy structures are breaking down, it's the mask, it's the sun. We will no longer be, when they start publicizing horoscope, it's not going to be the sun anymore. It's going to be the moon and then the ascendant. You watch 10 years from now, because everybody's going to realize that the emotional body that's been ignored for eons has been corrupting our experience on this planet, because we've been inadvertently looking for validation by joining the group in cooperation, which has not made us happy. So here's Scorpio going, not anymore. And I think this is really kind of a beautiful thing, because now I think it's about Scorpio learning how to invite others into the experience without them feeling intimidated by you. Rochelle is being joined by the Fire Fairy. Daniel's being joined by the Fear card. Patience is being joined by the Mystery card. And Astera is being joined by the Forgiveness card. In my personal chart, I have Mars and the Sun within 3-4 degrees of each other. So the first thing astrologers say is that, oh, you're combative in relationships. Yeah, okay, heard that, been there, done that. And what I started to realize as I started to revolutionize what everybody was telling me about me is that I'm living in me. And I might have been like that at one point, but what I felt like is that my life's mission is to be authentic to myself, but also not to invalidate another while I'm expressing myself. It's almost like it's Scorpio's duty on the higher vibration to be compassionate to that people sit under that give their power away. So Rochelle, I think, is not just honoring the heart of the other, of yourself, but looking for the heart of the other. Actually having the bravery for Scorpio to say, you know what, we're all flawed human beings trying to figure it out. And we're all scared shitless, frankly. So sometimes we cling on to things that aren't always good for us. And it's not easy to let go of them. Okay. So to really have this opportunity to take Mars's energy as your ancient ruler and be brave and pioneering to say, can I be a compassionate leader now? You know, Scorpio is the fixed water energy. And I like that it's fixed, because if Pluto was to give you any wiggle room, we wouldn't get anywhere. We've got to have certain planets holding our feet to the fire. The other is Saturn. Saturn, I don't, everyone can say, oh, restrictive and depressive. Yeah, because if you pick a crappy ass lane to work in, if you just dutifully follow the path of your family and you have no interest in it, then you will feel miserable by Saturn's energy. But if you follow your own, Saturn and Pluto will reward the crap out of you. I mean, ridiculous, because I really think this is about your history. Scorpio, what's your history and relationship? And are you willing to face your own participation and attitude in it? Face everything and rise? Because patience is asking you to observe the choices that you have made. And if you can really observe them without judgment, this is about evolution. Oh, at that point, this is how I felt about things. When I was younger, I had this boyfriend, and I haven't had that many boyfriends because I drive people crazy. But I remember feeling that this relationship was starting to slip away from me. And the more it started to slip away from me, the more I was like, wanted to grip onto it. And we were driving down the 405 freeway, getting onto the 101, going north, I think it was, or east. And I said, I love you and I need you. And he said, if you love me, you won't need me. And I was so offended and scared by that. Scorpio, need is not the vibration you want. So be willing to not only be authentic with your heart, but to be compassionate with another's heart as they bang around figuring it out, because it's easier for you to go deep and to see deep. And now, can you forgive deep? Can you look at it as the flawed human being doing their best to figure it out? And then in your compassion and your assessment and your patience as you observe the situation, is it working for you? Because some people get stuck. They get stuck in their perception and their fear. So I want to offer this, that as you observe this, you have an opportunity to make choices of compassion, and yet at the same time move closer to what you want. Because Scorpio, I don't think that you can be happy without that deep, whatever it is you want at the very deepest part of your heart. I believe it's imperative for you to continue to reach for it, to invite it in, because it will come. And then you will ultimately really experience why we love Scorpio. Because if everybody's willing to go deep into their heart bravely, where most people pretend they don't. If it's funny, I've had a lot of people with love stuff going on, of course, Venus retrograde in Capricorn. But, when I talk to them about their frustration level, about the timing of things, they're like, yeah, but. And if in any regard you're saying, yeah, but, then your energy is resistant to the experience you want, and it's contributing to the slowing down of it. So Overall, for Scorpio, I think this week it's super important to dig a little bit deeper into your heart, to have optimism, and also to have compassion for others as they struggle to meet you. Because sometimes your clarity is just going to be razor sharp, and other people are going to have to swim through all sorts of muddied waters in order to get where you are. So, this is where you can really not go back into your old story where you lose, but face that story. Observe that story and make a different choice. And in doing so, you might just freaking rise right above that and then accomplish and conquer the situation in a much more grounded and rooted way. Post it up. If you're feeling resentment and resistance from others, then how much are you willing to let them sit in that energy of misunderstanding? Potentially of you, and in your surrender of their perception, maybe things will shift. I've found lots of times that I have perceived something, and silence is really a kind of a weird thing for the human because it triggers the bad stories, I'm telling you. And I have sat even, as recently as a few weeks ago where I've been ghosted by somebody, and I've made up all these stories about why they're ghosting me and how rude they are and wanting to go back and shake my finger at them. And my higher self is like, no, this story may not be true. Your finger shake may not be appropriate. And your job is to just kind of move away from that now and move this direction. Keep moving your story forward. Don't go back and punish what hasn't served you, in your opinion, because it may be serving you and you don't know it. Okay, here we go. Guess what I'm going to say? Libra. All right, Libra, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Our first angel is Maya. The second is Archangel Michael. The third is Rochelle. And the final is Vanessa. A lot of Chiron is going to have to do with your heart, regardless of where it sits in your chart, because our wounds don't sit here. They don't sit really here, maybe imaginary, but you know what I mean? They sit in our heart, and they sit in our soul's memory. And that's why Chiron's energy is so important in our chart, because it's really where the gift lies. And I could literally do a whole hour just telling you the story of my life where Chiron felt so terrible and then transformed things in such a beautiful way. So Maya is teaching you what the owl has to offer, Libra, about not just balance, but about wisdom and deception. There's going to be a lot of things revealed coming up. Archangel Michael is asking you to have the courage to look at where your fears lie. And are you willing to allow those fears to transform you? Y'all know what the letting go card is, the let it go from the movie Frozen. You go through those lyrics, and it's exactly what Archangel Michael, Pluto, and Mars, and Chiron's, and Venus, all the planetary activity right now is asking us, are you willing to be courageous, to go deep, to see how your fears are working for you instead of actually tanking you? Because Rochelle is being joined by the Grail Knight, and the Grail Knight is seeking the sacred. It's really willing to remove the illusion of pity, and starting to transform that into power. Because Vanessa, offering yourself the wisdom of looking, am I basing my actions on faith or fear, will give you some sort of reconciliation. So last week after the show, Lucky's been having that skin issue. And I did part of the Boraxo bath, and I did vinegar. And at one point he started going, and I didn't really notice it too much. I mean, I noticed it, but it didn't cognate it. Later that night, Lucky got super sick, and he threw up, and even a little bit of blood came out. And I got scared that he got poisoned, immediately realizing that the Boraxo, he might have licked it off the side of the tub. I'd been so afraid of this issue with him and so frustrated by it that every time I went in to work on him, I didn't have any peace. I said in my mind, Spirit's teaching me something about this dog. Spirit's teaching me something about how I'm showing up right now. And I need to pay attention. And I'll tell you something. that night when that happened, I was scared. The next morning, I freaking was freaked out. But at the same time, I was connecting with my guides and my angels. I was having the courage to say, I've been vulnerable to this dog's existence since I got him. And this is telling me I'm afraid of love. I'm afraid of that if I love something, it's going to go away. This is the deeper truth I'm asking you all to reach for. Because when I got there, when I realized that it isn't the soap, it isn't the dog, it's that vulnerability to his love and to our partnership and to our life together. And I don't want to lose that. It popped something. I'm like, he's not going anywhere. I need to relax. I need to settle into what I've learned and what I've earned, because I do have more faith than I do have fear. And this is time to start to live on it. And this is really why I think Pluto's asking, no matter how much we've all learned and evolved, there's deeper and deeper levels of our truth. And sometimes our truths are, they seem historic. And like, will it ever go away? But if we don't look at it as going away, but how will it always serve me? How will it always serve me? All right, Libra, that's that. Let's go on to our Virgos. Rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. He's great now, by the way. He's doing really great, in case. He's still in the little coney thing because his ear had a little moment, but everything else is on track. Okay, here we go. Virgo. Whoop. Okay, our first angel is Astera. The second is Caressa. The third is Daniel. And the final is Akasha. I can't help but think that Daniel is sort of resonating with this idea of the planet Venus today, ruling marriage, partnership. We have a sense of self-esteem related to our partnerships. I'm sure, we imagine if we date a really cool person, that makes us cooler by proxy, right? So let's see, Virgo, what Astera is wanting you to reach for and not compromise with. The novice. How very, very interesting the novice would come up, because the novice could be like the maiden, the virgin, the new journey. I've been talking a lot about Virgo and the idea of perfection being ridiculous. The idea of being too critical or judgmental of yourself seems counterintuitive to the whole idea. So I feel like this is the idea of Virgo, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums, really giving yourself permission to go on this journey of developing new skills, of really reaching for the stars with your dreams and desires and starting to enjoy the journey versus having to be perfect at it. Because Caressa is being joined by the spider. And normally I think of the spider as relationships or networks, but I think this is about creative projects. I think this is about something a little bit more fun. And Caressa in the opportunity, the obstacle is really closing this chapter of having to be reaching too hard to excel in a way that doesn't allow for the beauty of imperfections. Sometimes I've thought of artists there's somebody who I was talking to, I can't remember when, and they had created this painting. It was an abstract. And then they accidentally walked by it and kicked over a bucket and it knocked something onto the painting. And at first their reaction was, oh no, it's ruined. And then it was better. Something about the journey, Virgo. Because I think that now Daniel is representing your self-esteem, your skills, your Venusian dynamics, your mother. So I want to offer it this way. You're being protected as you give life to playing in new arenas for yourself. This doesn't mean you have to start them to make money at, but to allow yourself to put yourself in a vibration where you're enjoying something that from your perception is a creative endeavor that could have far-reaching tentacles, ramifications to your idea of being able to live that more rooted, because Akasha, the spiritual teacher, is in the final position. And then we have the dog, and the dog is about love, loyalty, and unconditional love, loyalty, and sincerity. But this, again, I started this broadcast talking about the partnership of self, the partnership of what do I want for myself, and how can I use that to actually invite others in. And this is so powerful, because when we are happy, we just naturally don't give a shit about other people's bullshit. I'm sorry to say it like that, but Virgo, it's really, really, this is about kind of going into a place of not working or enslaving yourself to something, but allowing yourself to take your interests and to explore them in a way that you don't know how it's going to play out. But however it plays out, it will serve you. And if it serves you, it will serve others. Okay, let's go on to our Leos. So many, I don't know how people, I don't really listen to a lot of other astrologers anymore in the form of readings. I listen to a variety of people's perceptions of the aspects of things. And I really am starting to see this huge cooperation between these oppositions and accesses. And I say it because as I'm moving on to the Leo energy, we're going to have a full moon in Leo during the sign of Aquarius. And I've started to really notice the patterns, how the accesses come back around. So I feel like this full moon is going to illuminate some sort of liberation next week for those that want to follow their heart. And this week is teeing that up. Whoa, watch my finger go. I'm so crazy. Okay, in a good way. So here we go. Leo, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Is there someone new? Welcome, Alina. Are you new in the room? Welcome, welcome. Hi, Josh. Good to see you. Okay. Am I going good? Good. I like to pick up the pace a little bit here. I also feel a little bit lighter and happier on my own here than I was feeling in previous incarnation, if you get my drift. I've been revitalized. All right, Leo. Our first angel is Maya. The second is Archangel Gabriel. The third is Xana. And the final is Oceana. As I say this, I can't help but almost feel like the schools of the future will teach us about vibration. They will literally, the Bible says, God created the world and the word was spoken and the world was created. Vibration, the vibration of what we put out into the universe. Thoughts are things. Because thoughts are beliefs expressed through the verbal word, which then takes form in the action. I say all this because Maya is teaching Leo something. And I think it's going to be focused in the heart. Thank you very much. Leo, this is about bowing down to the sacred of your heart. Really digging deep, not what you think you can get, not what you've experienced, but what you want. Got a frog in my throat. Archangel Gabriel is being joined by Merlin. Xana is being joined by the Fire Fairy. And Oceana is being joined by the Letting Go card. Excuse me. When I look at this, the first thing I think for Leo is love. You're right. And I think it's about not just the love of another person, but this idea of being loved and being seen for who and what you really are. Leo is an interesting energy to me because I have a sister who's a Leo sun. Her Gemini, or Venus is in Gemini in the 9th house for her. So she's a very big Leo, honestly. And I've seen some Leos that are very quiet. And I'm surprised. I'm always like, oh, wow, you're a Leo? Wow, okay. Because I think that there's something about Leo learning to follow their heart in such a way that is of leadership, but not standing in leadership. it feels almost like that, what I was talking about at the beginning of the broadcast with the 222s. What does my higher self want? What does my personality and my ego tell me I can accomplish? And how can I work in between the two on my focus? Because this is what you're learning. You're learning how to bow down to a deeper truth, and how I'm going to the final position to get in touch with your heart, your emotional body, so that you can see that fear is actually working for you. This song, Letting Go, from the movie Frozen, Let It Go, was like a mantra for me when I first started doing my work. I listened to it every night, literally like shooting rockets of desires out to the universe. When it would talk about, breaking through, see what I can do, I would literally punch to the ceiling of the sky, because it's time for Leo to really start to see what you can do. This Archangel Gabriel is talking about breaking out on the internet, breaking out in your communities, breaking out in your communications, being you, doing you, that it's time. Alchemy, justice is being offered to you. But part of it is your willingness to really look at the platform of how you honor the sacred within you, because you are being protected as you flesh out the difference between what is really makes your heart sing and what makes you think your heart sings, because others will approve of you. And that's why I think there's a little bit of moving away from fear here, because I think on some level, Leo, if it's kind of like this, I had a client that had was kind of a young kid, and this kid had been steered into normal childhood activities, sports, etc. And this particular kid wasn't really like as into sports as they might have been into theater, right? And then had real challenges with kids in the sports area. They weren't meshing. So when the kid learned that maybe if I follow my heart a little more and I try something that is not what I'm used to, maybe that's where I'll find my tribe, my people. And that's what happened. And so I feel this is a little bit about Leo starting to do that. Really start looking at, what do I think I want because I think other people will approve of me? And what do I really want because I want to approve of me? There you go. So many deep, dark questions I've been asking myself lately, and how I've been hiding when I didn't think I was hiding. There's this perception sometimes of me, because of my clients, that I have all the answers, or that I can sit at the table doing this work and then go out into the real world and be that same person. Now, there's a duality to me, because I get just as frustrated as everybody else with the human experience. And I keep having to remind myself, why am I frustrated? What's the deeper truth? Blah, 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 blah. And it's been liberating on some level. Okay, here we go. We're going on to our Cancers, if I didn't say that. Cancer, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Oh, fun. Tuning forks. Cool. Sound vibration is so important. I really, really, really believe that is like, I'm buying into the whole idea that vibration lifts heavy. When you see these monolithic structures, I think it was done through vibration. There's just one scientist that was talking about how some vibrations, we assume vibration comes down, but vibration can lift up as well. I think that's why music is the song of angels. I think it's why various cultures chant and pray and have ritual that is out loud, because that vibration kicks in the laws of attraction. Okay. And think about the focus. Even a Buddhist who's chanting for what they may want to experience, they are putting a lot of focus into the experience of what they want versus where they've been. And the vibration is helping draw it in. Okay. Cancer, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Whoop. Our first angel is Isaiah. The second is Caressa. The third is Oceana. And the final is Layla. Oop. Oh my goodness. All right. Just dropped a bunch of cards. I'll be back. I could have taken those and run with them, but I'm not going to do that. Only because I feel like I was thinking about somebody who's a Cancer, and I don't want it to be them, meaning it's a broader reading. Okay. Cancer, what does Spirit want you to give birth to? A new idea to, and knowing that you're being protected. Love. Surprise, surprise. Pardon me for snorting. Okay, Caress is being joined by the Mystery card. Oceana is being joined by the Letting Go card. And Layla is being joined by the Serpent. One of the things I was thinking about today was the idea of love being something that we get very anxious about. We get to this place where we meet somebody and they're physically attractive to us. They feel they stir something within us, and we become so impatient for the process of actually revealing the character. And I think this is a huge kind of I want to say a travesty, because the journey of romance is why we go to see rom-coms. The idea of somebody being, we look at the Kardashians' Instagram feed and we all want to have, beaches full of flowers, declaring our love. And yet we don't give time for that nurturing process usually. And Cancer, of all the signs, I think might be the most anxious to just sort of know their title. I'm the title of mother. I'm the title of matron. I'm the title of family, home, and hearth, because I think it's time to give birth to new ideas of love and to know you're being protected as you realize that it's not the title that's important, but the quality of the connection. Okay. The Caress is talking about the end of a life cycle, and the Choice card is here. And I think the Choice card is, if I'm to really think about a partnership, getting the title is great. But I want to know that, if I look at my partner and I'm like, hey, do you want to watch The Bachelor tonight? I don't want him to look at me and roll his eyes and be like, oh God. I want him to be like, okay, it's the stupidest show on earth. Let's go laugh at it. We want to look for alignment, and in some ways to give life to the journey of alignment. Now I'm going to go a little bit deeper, because sometimes before the alignment can take place, there's a quiet. There's always a juncture within the intimate experience where two people realize that they're vulnerable to each other, and they don't always realize it at the same time. One can start to like one, and then the other one is still unsure, and it creates a speed bump. And this is why I'm telling Cancer this, because part of your job to be maternal and to be truly loving and to be truly intuitive is to be okay with the speed bump. It's to choose to go into your intuitive body and not let it scare you into a crab crawl, but rather allow it to liberate you, to allow it to really bring you up. Oceana, to me, really rules Cancer in this deck. I've made up my own language with these cards, and to me, this is following the soul's journey of my own intuition and really seeing how fear will empower me versus tank me, because Spirit is asking you to focus on your true intentions. And sometimes when we're trying to get the title, we don't pay attention to the journey. And this is an opportunity to truly gain knowledge about not only your partner, but how you show up in love. Sometimes I think the benefit of the doubt isn't just for the judicial system. Maybe it should be for our love life as well. And maybe rather than being anxious about the idea that I haven't been communicated with, or that this is happening and that is happening, maybe the opportunity is really just to sit and observe how considerate a person is when they're stressed out or when something else is going on. There's a lot going on here for Cancer, and I think this is about claiming yourself in a much stronger way and really claiming that intuitive body in a way that doesn't scare you, but actually encourages you to be brave, to align. I want to offer it this way for Cancer, because I think the big transformation for you, because your planet runs around the zodiac so fast that people don't really only talk about the full and the new moon, right? So I want to talk about the idea that if you're to truly nurture someone, if you're to truly give them the gift of life in a healthy way, does the title matter or does the vibration matter? Because I feel like this is about rewriting how you perceive love, that you're safe in love, that you're protected in love. And now you have the choice to end the chapter of feeling, I need the title to feel secure. But rather, the angels are encouraging you to go on a journey of discovery. You know, you can't see the distance in fear until you've walked the path a bit. So now you're like, Spirit, I really, really want to be in a relationship. I'm ready to move the story forward. And now I'm willing not to be yay or nay, yes or no, polarizing in some way, but I'm willing to go down the journey of discovery and knowledge about the other person and how they show up. The most successful relationships are the ones who don't villainize their partner in anger. And if indeed you're starting to villainize your dating partner because there's silence, that's an indication of a partnership vibration. And I just want you to be aware of it, because I feel like this is an opportunity to shift it, and also to see how, if you allow, the tide will work for you versus against you. And I think that's been a little bit of an issue. So there's some stuff going on for you this week, my Cancers. All right, let's go on to our Geminis. Couldn't agree with you more, Small. Couldn't agree with you more. I think we change as we grow, but I don't know if everybody grows as we change, because some people shut down. I had a woman in my life who had lost her husband and two of her sons, and it shut her down in a big way. She had one son left, and she had grandchildren from the sons that had crossed over, and yet she couldn't allow herself relations with them because it was too sensitive to her. So I think part of our job as a tribe, or part of our service as a tribe, is to give life to every dynamic in the human experience, and how sometimes a death does bring life to something else. And I think we're going to see a lot of that coming up. So the death of our old structures, 9-to-5s and things like that, as they die, they're going to give new life to new opportunities and new empowerment. We just have to claim it. Okay, here we go. Gemini. Our first angel is Astera. Well, isn't she making herself known today? We have Vanessa in the opportunity of the obstacle. We have Maya, and then we have Indriel. Astera is being joined by the dog, Gemini. Vanessa is being joined by the bear. Maya's being joined by the wealth card, and Indriel's being joined by the horse. I started this whole broadcast really talking about love, and I want to say it this way because it feels like intimate love. It's Valentine's Day month. We've got the 222s in play here all month, very strong. This isn't going to happen again forever. And I feel as if when I look at the dog, this is really about being loyal to yourself and your dreams and your desires. And again, stop telling bad stories. Gemini rules the everyday mind, sometimes known as the monkey mind. And it is so easy and so prevalent and so defaulting. Natural default is to take silence and to tell a bad story about it. Sometimes that silence and how we show up in result or in relation or in reaction to that silence ends up moving our story forward in ways we had no idea. Because I know, Gemini, it's time to reach for the stars with your dreams and desires and not to compromise in how you are being treated, in the sincerity of those around you, and in thinking there's a bigger story than you can potentially see. Okay, there's a love vibration going on because now there's an opportunity to shift that history and to move into a new dynamic. This history card also is the enchantment of storytelling. And I think that Spirit is saying to Gemini, it's time to start to tell a new story, an enchanted story. We have Mercury direct conjunct Pluto on Friday the 11th. 2/11/2022. Will you come in partnership with your own thoughts and start telling a story where you win instead of losing? Will you tell a story where you don't have to be obligated to a dynamic that doesn't serve you anymore? Because Spirit is truly teaching you about your harmonious wealth. And again, we're going to go back over and over about the laws of attraction, the law of allowing. My thoughts are things. My words are a vibration that starts to create my experience. So when I dare the universe to prove me wrong, I'm not really serving myself, because now is a time to truly go in a new direction. I feel like the horse is riding out of this nonsense because I need to start to be inspired by a different story. And this really feels like the connection to the angelic realm. If you think about the idea of the Sagittarius Gemini access, it's really just about, Spirit, can you give me a bigger thought in this genre? Because my history tells me one thing, and I'd like to experience something new. Because I really feel like this idea of giving people the benefit of the doubt, because we end up villainizing someone when we've been ghosted and nobody talks to us for weeks or months, we end up thinking they're doing something purposefully to us. And we don't know if they are or they're not. So I've started to think to myself, I really get to start thinking innocent until proven guilty on all fronts. And does it serve my mind to go to that place? And what do I do for myself when I think that way? Am I lowballing myself? Is that the deeper truth? Because if indeed the story is, you've been ghosted, then you don't think you're valuable. You don't think your presence is valuable. That's the deeper truth. That's what Mars is running through this whole week, talking about today with Chiron. What's your wound? And are you villainizing that person because this is your deeper truth? Because Gemini, I think it's time to let that sit where it belongs as a stepping stone for you to move past, because you are valuable. And in starting to think that, I think you can move your story forward a lot more quickly with whichever direction you want to move forward in. Okay, let's go to our Tauruses. Here we go, Taurus. Hello, Arthur Space. Good to see you. Oh, Brandon, is that your new name? Good to see. Arthur's my grandfather's name, so I'm affectionate with that handle. That makes me feel like a message from the other side. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Woo. This is Taurus rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Our first angel is Teresa. The second is Serena. The third is Archangel Raphael. And the final is Merlina. So this is the other thing. I told you guys that we are creeping towards the conjunction between Pluto, Venus, and Mars that's going to trigger when I say it, I get chills everywhere. The United States Pluto conjunction, which is going to trigger an opposition to Mercury in the 8th house of Cancer. It's going to be a little funky. All right. Teresa's being joined by the novice, Serena's being joined by the King. Archangel Raphael's being joined by the Earth Fairy. And Merlina's being joined by the Stag. You know, oftentimes the second house is referred to as the house of insecurity because Taurus and Venus there wants to have its things so it feels comfortable and knows where the money's coming from. And it's the house of the skills I have. You know, it's on the axis of the nodes right now. And we're going to go through some changes. Okay. We are going to go through the changes of, I believe paper money is going to go away in the next decade or so, maybe two. I don't know how long it'll take. And in doing so, we're going to go to a more electronic dynamic and things are going to feel unstable. And as Venus makes this conjunction to Mars coming up on Saturday, and as we move towards the full moon, you may feel a little insecure about your financial security, material security, your footing on the earth. Okay. But I want to offer it this way because, again, here, I had said earlier in the broadcast that during troubled times, there are always people who thrive so that they can show the contrasting experience. Teresa's a card of worry, and the Novice is about unstable new beginnings, but it's also using skills in a new way. Or embarking upon using skills I haven't used in a while. Because I think that for Taurus right now, this is probably about moving your story forward in a more individualistic way, because Serena is the angel of abundance. And then I have the King, which is justice, balance. It's also male energy. And I think that there's a reference here in some ways to Taurus starting to think in a serene way about how you can be the master of your own domain when it comes to money. And I almost feel like this might be not right now, but maybe there is some sort of investment in the future of finance. So maybe it's finance in the way of, I know Bitcoin has been, you know, a poop show lately, but there's other things. I personally have felt like the gaming industry is going to be a great place to invest money, that there's going to be like these crazy kids holographing themselves into these locations, all dressed Star Warsy and all futuristic, you know, doing this. So I say this for Taurus because I feel like something's going to open up for you, and you have the potential to really look at how you perceive money, how you perceive your security, and then start to create a dynamic where maybe you create more physical security, not because you're working hard like the burst of beaten, the beast of burden, but rather because you're starting to open up to the new technologies and getting money through the internet or investment. Because in the angel's advice is Archangel Raphael and the Earth Fairy, which both indicate a physical experience. But for me, this feels like an epiphany right now of how I can make money and feel serene about it. Feel like, oh, money's coming in, yay. And then Merlina is about confusion. So this is going to start off in an unstable way, but part of it is about you staying the course, of not letting other people freak you out, not letting other people worry you, but rather kind of going into this place of putting things, I almost want to put it this way. If you get inspired to invest in something, start off small. Look at the transits, of course. Don't, would not have been a good time while Venus was retrograde in Capricorn. But after all these things reveal themselves, after this trigger happens between Venus, Mars, and Pluto, I think that Taurus may have an opportunity to either make money through an investment of some kind. Again, I want to encourage you to look and research and then start small so you can feel the viability of it. But there also may be an opportunity for you to express yourself on new platforms on the internet and make money there, almost like a side hustle. And that side hustle can grow over the years. Okay, let's go on to our Aries, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. I just finished with Taurus, and now I'm going on to our final sign, Aries. And I always want to thank you guys for coming and joining. Make me feel really valued. It means the world to me. Okay, Aries, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Shelley, that's cool. I love that. Expressive therapies continuum. That sounds cool. All right. Thank you, Brandon. Okay, here we go. Aries, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Your ruling planet is having a field day today and this whole week. Going to be chatting it up. We have Seraphina, the angel of happy families. We have Ariel, focus on our spiritual gifts. We have Archangel Uriel, and then we have Bethany. This is an interesting set of cards in comparison to what we've been doing. Oh, I'm glad too, Small. I'm glad it was just a getting back to know you. Funny, Stephen, when you said that about what would you call a pub, the first thing that came into my mind was the pickle and the perch. No idea why. All right, Aries. Seraphina is being joined by the partnership card. Woo! Ariel's being joined by the death card. Uriel's being joined by the frog. And Bethany's being joined by the restriction card. I'm going to pull one more on that. Okay. All right. So I started this broadcast talking about how partnership is not just with another person, another situation, another dynamic, but with ourselves. And about the ego and the higher self. I'm not going to really bring the id into it at this point, but I believe that there is a conversation going on between what the personality has experienced in this lifetime and what the oversoul is holding space for experiencing moving forward. So for Aries, you're the loner. You're the one that goes out by yourself through the Louisiana territory with your little machete, with your little fire by yourself, just trying to figure it out. No, we're on to Aries, actually, Small. We're on to Aries. Because I feel as if there's also a part of Aries that longs to be seen, that longs to be acknowledged for your courage, for your pioneering spirit, for your loyalty, for what you bring to battle. Okay? And Seraphina is the change of happy families. And there's the partnership card. And I think it's time for Aries to start to believe in their value, and not in a way that is just of service in a hero's journey way, but in a way that people appreciate you for all the colors that you are. I think that this idea that if indeed you have been, I want to use the word alone, it's not something that has to stay that way. I feel as if there is a little bit of self-punishing going on here, because Ariel is asking Aries to go in and have a spiritual experience and to transform beyond what you have experienced. And in some ways, I want to offer it this way, because I'm so strong, Aries. And, I got a bullshit meter that's so sensitive that if you even try to feed me like a millisecond of bullshit, I start to react. And which is why part of my lessons are diplomacy in this lifetime, which is why I think I have a Libra sun. So I feel as if this is for Aries, is really to connect with your people so you can transform and really get out of this stuck of this resentment and anger, and allow yourself to believe that this was just a chapter of, and now you're going to be able to experience more connectedness with not only yourself, but the people around you, seeing you and not pigeonholing you into a certain vibration. Because when I pulled the final angel, Bethany is self-care, and then I pulled the restriction card, and it felt kind of funky to me. I was like, so this is about reviewing how I view myself. And maybe part of me buys into the idea that I'm very Martian. And then I pulled the history. I'm a very assertive girl. I tend to speak my opinion when not asked. I used to go to bars and sit at the bar before COVID and by myself to eat. And then I'd just horn in on other people's conversations because I thought I had something interesting to say. And there's a part of me that used to get very criticized for my outgoingness, like, who cares what your opinion is? And I feel like the reason I'm saying all this is because I don't know that every time we need to, I feel like I feel like Aries gets to sort of like themselves a little bit more, to think to themselves, I'm kind of fun to have around. I like sports. I like to go to sporting events. I like to be active. I like to do stuff. And now it's time for me to sort of transform those old vibrations of how I've been perceived. If I have been perceived as angry or frustrated, Archangel Uriel, it's time to jump off that lily pad and start to really take care of yourself and allow for a new story to be told. I've thought many, many times, if I could shave off the edges of me and be more cooperative with others, follow their lead more, would I do it? And the answer is really no. I haven't met anybody in the physical form whose leadership I trust that much. So there's nothing wrong with that. I just think it's about now starting to reframe how Aries sees itself so it can start to reframe it for others to see you in this transformed light. So a little less angry Martian and a little more hero. Okay, so that's it for this week. I'll be back next week on the 13th, the day before Valentine's Day, and the week of the full moon in Leo. So I want to thank all of you so much. Again, you're so wonderful. And I so appreciate you coming over to my channel and joining me on Sunday mornings and spending so much of your time with me. I feel so much love and appreciation, and I feel revitalized for the show as well. So we're going to, as I said earlier, I have engaged another's help. I'll be telling you more. We're working on some strategies to bring new content to you and new information and new fun stuff. So we'll do more than just the Sunday, but for now we're working on all that. So thank you again, everybody. I want to send lots of love to you. And Lucky is well on the mend. I think I had to lower my resistance. I had to lower my fear. And for the longest time, I was afraid that he would leave me, that love would be lost. And that's one of the things I had to come to terms with, is that if I'm happy, it can stay, because I haven't experienced that quite yet. So anyway, practice. Practice makes more practice. All right, sending lots of love. Please like, please subscribe, please notify me or notify you, have you hit that bell, whatever that bell is. And if you'd like to get a reading with me, my information is below. And I'm available. So I'll speak to you again next week. I look forward to seeing you all. Sending lots of love and light. Teri Hunter, peace out.